Welcome to bLUTalks.
So it was dusk, and it wasn't my custodial day, but my son pulled into the driveway with his dad, and he barged in the front door, and to the best of my memory, it was something like, "Dad was right, you're crazy, I read the emails, I'm taking all my stuff, I'm living with him, and don't you try to stop me or I'm calling the police." And so he packed up all of his clothes, he packed up his PS4, he packed up his little bear that he'd had since he was 1 week old. And out the door he went, and off they drove. And I just crumpled onto the cold marble floor. I couldn't even sob. I was just frozen. You see, for the past 12 years, I had been in a custody battle, just trying to keep 50% custody. But I even lost that. And I only had 30% custody. And I'd lost my assets, I'd lost my home, I was in $250,000 of legal debt, and now I'd lost my son. Hi, I'm Allana Pratt. I'm an intimacy expert for the past 20 years and a relationship coach. And I've had the joy of being able to interview on my edgy podcast, as you've heard, Alanis Morissette, John Gray, and I've got almost 5 million views now on the YouTube channel, and helping Lisa Gibbons with Dancing with the Stars behind the scenes there. It's been a great ride. And yet, as you can tell from the beginning of my story, what I'm here to teach is absolutely what I'm here to learn. So, I grew up a small town Canadian girl, really wanting my daddy's love and my daddy's approval, but he was drunk and stoned, and he would go away for the weekend, and I'd say, "Daddy, where were you?" "Well, you're crazy. I was here the whole time." So I learned that expressing my truth was not safe. And I learned to be 2 or 3 steps ahead just to make sure that any, outbursts I could navigate. And I learned to be a first-class people pleaser. But by the time I was 18 years old, I was actually in a pageant in Canada, Miss Kamloops Princess, and I saw all of these entrepreneurial women, and I thought, okay, I got it. Got the bright idea, I'm getting out of Dodge. I'm not taking over Dad's pharmacy, no. I'm not gonna become an underpaid teacher like my mom. No, I'm gonna hop on Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler semi. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting out of here and I'm gonna go to Hollywood. I'm gonna be a dancer. Yeah, I'm gonna make it. And so out of town I went. And I was talented enough and I was brave enough, but I didn't have that damn visa. You gotta have a working visa to work in this country. And so with $40 to my name, and I was almost on the brink of having to turn around and go back home and admit failure, I landed a job. I landed a job in northern Japan in this hot spring hotel to be a dancer. And so off I went and I never looked back. And so being in Japan was amazing. I was making lots of money. I was on billboards. I would go into a subway and my photo would be everywhere. And I began dancing in one of the hottest clubs in Tokyo. And there was Duran would come in, and the big sumo wrestlers would come in, and then this tall, dark, and handsome guy came in, multi-millionaire, and he took a liking to me. And so my daddy wounds kicked right in. You see, I didn't really go to Japan to find a husband, to find the one. I was buying into that belief, though, that finding the one would finally make me good enough, right? And so as I began to get to know this man, I hadn't yet developed the awareness that it's not about becoming, finding the one, it's about becoming the one who's brilliant and beautiful. But I didn't know that yet. And so when he said, "Hey, let me take you on a date to the Philippines. Just bring your bikini and your passport," I'm like, "Oh my God, that sounds amazing." So, this sense of relief came over me, finally someone chose me. I must be enough. And there he was negotiating one morning his bonus. And his bonus was 1.3. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's thousands. I think they talk like that when they talk millions. And all in a quick split second, I had moments before been so proud of myself because I had saved $55,000 in the last 3 years. I was so proud of myself. But in that moment, I decided, no, he's better, I'm worse. He's superior, I'm inferior. He's smarter, I'm not. And in that moment, I just acquiesced all my power. Anything he said, I would just agree. Anything, just so that he would think I'm the one. He would keep choosing me. And so we got married, and I just put on that happy face, and it lasted for about 6 years. But he'd say things like, are you gonna cut the vegetable like that? That's not how you cut a vegetable. Are you gonna hang the picture like that? No, that's too low, too high, no. Are you gonna wear that? Did you really say that? Don't get too excited, it's just an audition. You don't even get the job yet. And so my radiance started to fade. And I really had even a lower self-worth during this time. And we tried therapy and we tried workshops, but eventually I asked for a divorce and I left. And I learned 2 very important lessons in that marriage. The first being that I don't need a man to save me. I can save myself. And I remember the night before I told him, I thought, you know what? If I have to go back to Tokyo and dance again, I will. If I have to go back to Canada and work at my dad's pharmacy, fine, I will, but I'm not going to be treated like this anymore. And this really curious thing happened. I told him I was leaving. And the very next day, what arrived in the mail for this Canadian? My green card. And I learned a very important lesson about the universe. You can't just be a victim and wait around to be saved. No, from your heart, from a high vibration of truth, choose. Step. The universe will show up and meet you, but you gotta go first. That was the first lesson I learned. The second lesson I learned was that I was a damsel in distress. I was looking to be saved. I was looking to him for my security. I was looking to him for my worth, and that all of his judgments against me were actually an external projection of my own internal low self-esteem, self-criticism. He was just my mirror. I was my ex, and my ex was me. But I didn't really want to grow up at the time. I just blamed him for everything, and I did what, the new personal growth people do. We do the spiritual bypass thing. We just say all the right things. We look good, but we don't do any of the inner work. So I had not embodied the healing of that relationship whatsoever. And so when you resist something, it persists and quite often gets worse. So you can just imagine husband number 2, open door number 2, here we go. Now this one was a charismatic guy, quite handsome, a .comer or so he said. And I was smitten. And this time I was like, okay, Allana, no more of this Disneyland fairy tale marriage thing. No. We're going to take charge. We're going to be a little more masculine. We're gonna have our own independence here. We're gonna have our own money. And this time we're gonna choose who we're gonna marry. We're not just gonna show up anybody that chooses you and walk down the aisle. So we could say my heart was closed, shut, when I was out there dating again. And simultaneously what occurred was my mom just got diagnosed with cancer, which closed my heart even more because she was pretty much the only one that made me feel safe, seen, and understood. So the thought of losing her, like my whole world was ending. And so I closed my heart even more and got into my masculine even more, and I was on a mission to find a man and a baby, anything to bypass the pain of losing my mom. And so what did I do again? I attracted another mirror, another man with a closed heart just like mine. But his form was things like texting me on the day I gave birth to our child in the hospital to say, no, I quit, we're gonna live off your mom's inheritance. And he was really angry. But all of his friends and colleagues and family said, oh, he's so nice now that he's married to you. So I thought, oh, well, maybe it's meant to be. But the rage got worse. The therapy again, workshops again, and in the end I said, I'm done, another divorce. But then the rage turned to revenge. And the 12 years, as you heard, about the court battle, doing his best to take away our son from me forever. And as you heard, the losing of my assets and my house and all of that heavy debt that I was in and humiliation. But my son still loved me because I'm good enough, right? No, No, you heard the day that he walked out too. So there was nowhere left to go. There were no more excuses, there was no more justification, there was no more shining on. It was time to surrender. And so I did. I left my place in the city, I got myself a little cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I had a planned mini nervous breakdown. Because the only one in common with this whole story so far is yours truly. So it was time to take responsibility. As a coach, I always walk my talk. I always had 2-3 coaches because I'm masterful at seeing other people's blind spots, but I can't see my own to save my ass. So I was saying to my coach at the time, my ex is a lying, conniving F-head. This is PG, so I'm just going to say F-head. And he said, oh, Allana, and where are you, a lying, conniving F-head? Me? I am so perfect. I am spiritual. I always do the right thing. I'm always coming from a good place. And he's like, sister, until you can own that he is your mirror, until you can own that this story you're telling yourself, find the one and then you'll be good enough, is destroying your life. Until you can own that you are your ex and he is you, you are going to have divorce number 3 and divorce number 4, and you are never going to become the one who is brilliant and beautiful. And so I began to do my work. And I discovered that I was totally miswired. That little girl seeking daddy's love was seeking men for approval, men for security, terrified of rejection, willing to settle, willing to deny my truth. I was like prostituting my soul just to get attention. And I was even using men so I didn't have to feel my own pain. I was doing that. And so what I discovered was to wire myself properly from the inside out. And as I went inside, I first did not like who I saw. She was humiliated, she was embarrassed, she was in debt, she was insecure. It was quite the list. But I learned what she really needed was approval and attention and affection and appreciation. So we created this process that I call the little you process. And I could feel her inside my body, like she would clench in my stomach, or she'd feel nauseous, or my heart was super closed, or sometimes my voice, I couldn't speak, or I would just spin in my head. She was stuck in all these areas of my body. And so I imagined that I was a superhero when I put my cape on and I got really small and I would go inside my body into the darkest of the dark epicenters where she was stuck behind this door. It was all covered in chains and locks. And I would go to these doors in my mind's eye and I'd lay my hands on them and it would all fall away. And the door would creak open and I would go in. It was all dark and there was like a little chair. And I would sit down and would wait for my eyes to adjust, and across the room were all these various versions of little Allana, the humiliated one, the scared one, all of them. And I learned, instead of criticizing her and why are you so stupid and just get a grip and shove her with a 2x4 and put her in the closet, hello, everything's fine, spiritual bypass right here. I said, oh, big girl, I'm so sorry. It's not helping, is it? You don't need me to criticize you. You need me to hug you. And every time I go off and I try to look good and put another video on YouTube and, date another hot guy, you're feeling abandoned, aren't you? You're feeling like you don't matter. I'm not listening to you when the feeling comes up. I'm pushing the feeling away. And I'm being fake and I'm, embarrassed by you, and that hurts your feelings, doesn't it? You're feeling so alone and abandoned by me. And you're feeling criticized by me because I don't love you unconditionally. I only love you conditionally. If I ever do come to visit you, it's only so you're in a better mood. Can we just please be in a better mood now? I'm not just loving you as you are, without condition, unconditionally, which means if you're humiliated, I love and accept you. If you're terrified, I love and accept you. If you're embarrassed, I love and accept you. If your son never calls again, I love and accept you. If you are single until the day they kick dirt in your face, I love and accept you. I love and accept you. I love and accept you. And something very profound began to happen within my being. Every time I came to visit her, at first she had her back turned to me, but over time, she was excited to see me. And then one day, because I had done the work and she trusted me and our respect had been put back together again, she wasn't over there, she was here. She was already home. She was already inside my heart. And I never had to go find her again. And there was this instant moment of like little Russian dolls, like there was big me holding little me, and then whew, this energy I'd never felt in my whole life before just swallowed me up, and it was just warm and caring, and I'm like, God? Goddess? Like, what is this? The universe? The field? Like, I am feeling love. I am feeling home. I am feeling a direct experience. I have never felt this before. This is what they talk about. This is what the Maharishi, the gurus write about. Like, I'm having the moment. I'm home. And it's never left. There are days, I'll admit, when I get upset and I eat a bag of chips and have a shot of tequila or two, and I get in the bath and I sob my face off, but it only lasts for like hours. It used to last years, decades. I know how to get home now. I know how to get home where I'm safe and seen and understood by myself and my Creator. And no one and no thing can ever take that away from me. And I learned a lot. I learned that there was a discernment that I had not understood. I love drive. I'm a quite accomplished woman. I love accomplishing and achieving, but that's different than my worth. My worth is inherent, non-negotiable, forever lasting. I learned that my worthiness is not to be looked upon by your opinion. You seem lovely, but your opinion of me, I really don't care. I hope you like me, but I don't care anymore. I define my worth. I learned so much about my ex-husband. You know, I put away the voodoo dolls. And I said, oh, you're actually my greatest spiritual teacher. Oh my God, if it wasn't for you, I would not have found my shadows. I wouldn't have grown up. I wouldn't have taken responsibility for my life. I wouldn't have become the one who is brilliant and beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All the emotional triggers just went away. And I also learned, because I'm an eternal student, the last time I spoke with the late, amazing Dr. Barbara Marx Hubbard. And she said, Allana, we're evolving from soulmate relationships into wholemate relationships. It's a time where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. It's a time where we are joining our geniuses. These relationships are about coming together where each awaken each other's innate evolutionary spark, not just for ourselves, not just for the relationship, but for humanity. And that's not possible if you haven't stopped seeking the one, if you haven't come home and become the one who is brilliant and beautiful, which, oh, by the way, is the key, of course, to having a thriving, intimate relationship. So I'm so grateful to be able to feel this sense of oneness inside with myself and with the divine. I am so grateful now that my reality has shifted. I'm out of debt, and I get to make a huge impact in the world. There is peace in my life. I haven't been to court in years. Yeah, life is really rich and working for me. And maybe you're wondering about my son. He called. He eventually called. And he apologized. He said, Mom, I'm so sorry for the way it went down. I just knew in my heart the only way to create peace was to leave. And it was kind of my way of protecting you, Mom. And so now we see each other from time to time, hamburgers and facials, that's our thing. And he said to me just a few days ago over brunch, Mom, I've decided this is my point of view. I chose you and Dad. My soul chose you and Dad so that I could learn to feel feelings and stay connected to my truth and develop resilience and learn to stay calm. My beautiful friend is here who's been through this with me. Yeah, thank you. He said, I've learned how to stay calm under pressure. Because you see, he's now 6'4", and he's a baseball player. And he goes, Mom, I stand on that pitching mound, and all of the court, and all of the evaluators, and all the policemen, and all the social services, and everything we went through for all those years. Mama, I pitch a no-hitter. Because he's a lefty. Yeah, so he's actually able, at 16, to see the gift that took me 5 decades to figure out. He's got the lesson. He's integrated the lesson. He's embodied the lesson. I'm so very proud of him. And so for you, my dear friends, I dare you, I challenge you, I implore you, I invite you, make today the day that you cultivate an amazing, intimate relationship with yourself. The one where you feel safe and seen and understood by yourself, no matter what circumstances you've been through, no matter what circumstances you're going through, that you can say, I'm no longer seeking this approval on the outside. I have become the one who is brilliant and beautiful. Because the truth is, you are, always have been and always will be, brilliant, beautiful, badass, breathtaking. Thank you for being the one who's discovered that you are the one you've always been seeking. Thank you.